Okay, everybody, we're live and welcome everybody to the latest unscheduled kind of live stream with Una McGurk, Barrister and Senior Counsel and independent candidate for Ireland South. It came to my attention over the last day or two that Una was having trouble both with her social media and also access to the media, the mainstream media. So I had a quick look at your Twitter account, Una, yesterday, and I noticed basically you don't have control of your own Twitter account. We'll start there. Is that correct?
Yes. Thank you, Jerry, for having me on, first of all, and giving me the opportunity to speak about this very important issue. You're absolutely correct. I no longer have any control over my Twitter account. It took me quite a while to figure this out because it just didn't occur to me that I could be hacked. But I have been seriously hacked. And a bot or a male or a female, I don't know who it is, an entity calling itself Georgina is now controlling my entire Twitter feed and has her mark and logo all over everything. And she has some very nefarious followers. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, and I just noticed your the last post was from, this is obviously some sort of fake account that's taken over here. But
yeah, so just for everyone to know not to send anything to that account or not to pay any attention to it, because it's clearly not me that's running it. So yeah.
Okay. So what has been the response from Twitter Ireland and trying to basically get control of your account again?
Well, initially I didn't realize what was going on. So, I was attempting to get in and it was telling me that my handle was incorrect and my email address was incorrect. So no matter what I did, I couldn't actually get in because wouldn't accept my email, wouldn't accept my handle. And then at one point, I managed to get some passwords, but they didn't work. And then at another point, I tried to get through, even to say that I'd been hacked, and the system wasn't allowing me through. But I don't feel that in any way that it's that X is, it's the fault of X. I have made a complaint via another user using their email. We've made a complaint about what has happened, but I haven't heard back yet from X, but I do expect that I will hear back from them. I'm hoping I will. I know these things can take some time, but time is not something I have at the moment because, as you know, I am a candidate for the elections in Ireland South, and the fact that this happened less than, little over 2 weeks before polling day is very, very serious. It's clearly deliberate. It's a deliberate attempt on the part of someone to stymie me and or to adversely interfere with my campaign. And I just think it's very, very sad that in Ireland we have reached this new level of low, because I have never, ever heard of this or encountered this for any election candidate anywhere, ever, at any time in any elections up until this point.
Now, just a bit of background for people that mightn't be aware is that, you very much have come to prominence in the recent months because of your videos on things like the hate speech legislation, the Migration Asylum Pact, and that, like, your social media is one of your biggest campaign tools. Is that correct?
Indeed. I absolutely do have to rely on it. There's no doubt about that. And as you know, and as all the listeners will know and realize, X is probably the most important social account you can have. It's even more important than YouTube. It has a huge reach. And also it's very important because it's the one channel that does enable you, for the most part, to speak your mind and tell the truth. And it's hugely important in any campaign. And people were saying to me, why aren't you posting? Why aren't you posting? And I was saying, I'm trying to get onto my account. I can't do it. And it wasn't letting me. And anyway, we sort of got it sorted yesterday. So I have set up a new Twitter account. It will be up this morning. And I'm just going, in case I forget to tell you, just so the viewers will know, it's my name, Una _McGurk is my new handle. So it's Una _McGurk. So hopefully at some point this morning, people will have access to that and that they will follow me and subscribe to me and support me because of what has happened. Because I don't think this has happened to any other candidate, at least not that I'm aware of. And as you know, I'm an independent candidate, so I'm not getting fair coverage from our national broadcaster, or indeed, it seems, any of the other mainstream media outlets. So I'm very grateful to you, Jerry, for giving me this opportunity to express my concerns regarding this issue. Thank you.
So I'm just putting your new Twitter account. So it's Una _McGurk, new Twitter account for Una
Yes.
McGurk. Is that correct? Okay, so
Yeah,
we'll just put
it
that up for
actually might
people.
be a capital U. I think it's a capital U there, but
I-
probably either will get
Yeah,
me. I'm sure
yeah,
either will get me.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, that
perfect.
that won't make a difference.
It won't make a difference. Yeah.
So what I was going to say now, it would be one thing, like you have a suspicion on your TikTok account as well.
Indeed, I have a question mark over my TikTok because I noticed that one of my videos, the one that actually dealt with the EU Asylum and Migration Pact, had only got something like 146 views, which I thought was very little. So I went in to check it, and I was greeted with this loud disco music blaring all over the place, and a few comments saying, "I can't hear a word you're saying." I couldn't hear a word I was saying either with the music, and it took me 3 attempts to get rid of that email, to try and delete it. And eventually it has been deleted now, only this morning, but I had to do it 3 times because every time it was deleted, it was put back up again. So I think I've succeeded now at this point, but there is a question mark over TikTok as well, because even my campaign video, which now has all the relevant hashtags, only has something like 450 views, which for me is way below par. So that's why I have a question mark over that. But I can't definitively state it has been hacked just at this moment in time. So I need to be fair about that. But there's definitely a question mark over that account as well.
Okay, so like this is these are distractions you don't
I
need
don't need, yes.
in the last 2 weeks.
And especially when I'm relying on social media, because it seems I'm not going to get any coverage from mainstream media.
Well, that leads me. We might touch back on the social media accounts, but that brings me to another relevant point. Is that you're not getting access to mainstream media, and you actually wrote to RTE about kind of why you weren't, or what the criteria were to be included in RTE debates, and you got a response.
Well, yes. Well, I think they essentially referred me back to their original letter, which they sent to all the candidates. It's an 8-page document setting out the criteria that they will be using for the 2024 election, and the fact that it is essentially based on the new updated guidelines from Commissioen Naman. But I just want to make a few comments about it, if I may, which I think are somewhat revealing. In fairness to Commissioen Naman, they talk about issues such as achieving fairness, objectivity, and impartiality, and they're very laudable aims. And in addition, there's a paragraph which deals with diversity of viewpoints. And I'll come to that in a moment. But if I might just quote a paragraph that I think is relevant, and it's relevant to me, and indeed all of the other independent candidates, many of whom will be in the exact same position that I'm in. And it states as follows: in addition to exploring the manifestos of political parties and the campaign positions of candidates, election campaigns generally, well, that should include me, to address a range of social, cultural, and political issues. And that's what this does. In this respect, and this is the important part, to ensure that I just want to check this. To ensure that candidates are not only, to ensure, I beg your pardon, that audiences are not only familiar with the candidates seeking elections, but also the wider issues that may be at the center of election campaigns. Broadcasters are advised to seek out the widest range of opinions on these issues. So in other words, what this is saying in effect is that in order to give audiences the choice, that it's that the broadcasters are advised to give the widest a range of opinions. So that should include somebody like me. So that's the paragraph that's under diversity of viewpoints. So with the approach that's been taken by our national broadcaster in particular, and indeed the others seem to be following suit, the others such as News Talk, etc., they are certainly not following that guideline, which is about giving the widest range of opinions on all the issues. In addition to that, when setting out how they're going to follow the legal and regulatory framework, and of course they've referenced the updated guidelines from Commission Naman, but they state, which is interesting, that as has been advised by Commission Naman, that broadcasters may reasonably have regard to contextual factors. But in the original Commission Naman paragraph, it clearly states, but not limited to contextual factors. So Commission Naman are encouraging the broadcasters to use your contextual factors, but you're not limited to them. Whereas our national broadcaster has chosen to limit itself to the contextual factors. So you see how words are being misused here. And then they set out a list of criteria. One is current elected representation. So that seems to be the most important criteria that they intend to take into consideration. The second one is first preference votes in a prior election. Okay, so that clearly, those two factors clearly rule out any independent candidate who's running for the first time, like myself and John Waters and so many others. Candidates, the third criteria in the contextual factor section is candidates campaigning on aligned election issues who are not members of a political party. Well, that could include me and many others because we're aligned on election issues, but they don't seem to be applying that criteria in seeking to have me and others involved in these debates. The fourth criteria is the number of candidates being fielded. The fifth is a diversity of political perspectives. I certainly feel that I would come within that, so that I'm not being accorded my due process from a contextual point of view with regard to that particular criteria. And then current support as evident from opinion polls. Well, I think we can deduce that the opinion polls are not entirely accurate. So I do accept that insofar as those opinion polls are concerned, I'm not exactly featuring in the top levels there. But certainly for one or two or three of those contextual factors, I certainly ought to be considered. But what is of concern to a large extent with regard to the manner in which these guidelines, have been created and updated by Commission Naman and adopted then by the national broadcaster is this. And this is the most important statement really in the entire document. Commission Naman acknowledges that decisions, this is really important, decisions in respect of editorial coverage of an election rest solely with broadcasters.
Okay.
That means that everything they've said with all their guidelines and all their recommendations and all their advices are irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant. Because once the broadcaster has the final say, and once the decision rests solely with the broadcaster, it's irrelevant, really, what's contained in the Commission Naman document.
Now,
and therein lies the problem. Yeah.
Unless I'm Commission Naman is just recently constituted.
Yes.
So this is their first rodeo as well. Like they're under the spotlight.
Their first rodeo, and they've taken over the National Broadcasting Authority, or the roles and the role of what was the original Broadcasting Authority. Yeah. So this is their first rodeo in an election. So whilst they use a lot of very benevolent sounding words like fairness and impartiality and diversity of views, and they say all these nice things about how there should be fairness, etc., etc., etc. But at the end of the day, decisions in respect of editorial coverage of an election rest solely with broadcasters. So really, what is the point if that is the case? And of course, in the document that was sent to me by RTE, our national broadcaster, they have relied on that, understandably, because that's a power and an authority that has been given to them. And something else, and also they reference, which I think is really important, and also it's very unfair to new candidates. Past electoral record has been one of the key metrics in guiding RTE's election coverage of parties, etc., etc. And this is reflected in the contextual factors set out by the Commission. So clearly, it gives an unfair advantage to sitting politicians or those who have run in elections before. So, how could that possibly be fair? And how could it be fair, more to the point, to the voter? In this case, the voter is being denied and deprived of an opportunity to have choice. Because if they can't hear from all of the election candidates, if they don't have the opportunity to observe these election candidates and find out who they are and why they're standing, why they're running, and what they intend to do, the voter does not have the choice. And what it means is that, once again, the political establishment, via the national broadcaster, with come as soon a man, pushing them up from the rear, are controlling the outcome, because they effectively, with this methodology and with this system, are controlling who, amongst the voting public can see and vote for ultimately. So if I'm not out there, if I'm not on any debates, whether it's on TV or on radio, people don't know me. They have no idea who I am or what I stand for. So they can't get the opportunity to vote for me. They may see my name on a ballot paper, but that means nothing to them if they've never seen me being interviewed. So the voter is being deprived. And therefore, this is ultimately anti-democratic. And it's a denial of our freedom. Denial of choice is a denial of freedom. And in an election, it's anti-democratic. And I would say it's manifestly unfair, not just to me, but to all of the independents who are running. And there's another matter I just want to bring to your attention, which I think you and your viewers will find interesting. In the specific paragraph where they deal with the 2024 elections, they say, for the purposes of the European and local elections 2024, the RTE election steering group will again, and I quote, have regard to past electoral record as an important, impartial and objective metric guiding our overall coverage. Now, not only is that nonsense, it's a totally deceptive statement. To actually say or suggest that past electoral record could in any way constitute an impartial objective is blatant nonsense. I mean, it's not even worthy of being described as an oxymoron, because sometimes oxymorons actually can be benevolent, or there can be a grain of truth in oxymorons. This is just pure deception. And this is how language can and is being used, not just in this context, but in so many areas and aspects of our lives, where they use words that sound really good, but when you analyze them, are actually meaningless. So the idea that, favoring people who've run before, that somehow constitutes an impartial objective, is blatant nonsense when you compare that to people who've never run before, who've never had the opportunity, and are running for the first time.
Well, yeah, you bring up 2 points in my head there. One is, on the past performance of unsuccessful candidates, let's put it that way. That's how we got Peter Casey. That's basically seems to have been how Peter Casey's got access to one of these.
Oh yes, he did. Yeah, because he ran before. Yes, yes.
Now, what I would say is the independents that have been platformed so far, they are independents of the older tradition, if you like. The pre-pandemic world, if you like, let's put it that way. So if we go back to 2019 and compare it to today, we're living in a completely different world today. So the fact that those guidelines are so heavily weighted to, candidates and politicians that were elected from that old world, and not cognizant of the huge changes that have been going on in this country, especially over the last 4 years, and not to include them, like that would seem to be not accidental.
Indeed, and you're absolutely right. We are living in a different world, in a different paradigm, and certainly this document from RTE and the guidelines from Commission Man do not reflect that. On the contrary, they seem to be desperately trying to maintain the status quo. It's almost as if there is a deliberate attempt to avoid any recognition of the fact that there has been an enormous sea change. Because really, if you look at these guidelines, they are, to all intents and purposes, specifically and deliberately designed to exclude independents, and particularly new candidates who are running as independents.
Now, just before I move on to the last question, because I know you're busy and I know you have a packed schedule for the next 2 weeks, just one little question. Are you having any more success with the local media? And I'm framing this as I've heard a number of candidates be on, local radio stations, like Galway Bay FM, Shannonside, a few. They seem to have widened the parameters a little bit. And has John McGurk from GRIPT invited you onto his podcast? Is just
No.
personal. Okay.
No, he has not. No, and we have reached out to him, and he has not invited me onto his podcast yet. We still technically have 2 weeks to go, so lots of interesting things can happen. I'm at the moment holding out for Radio Kerry. They haven't said no, but they haven't quite said yes either.
Okay. So look,
it's all to play for now, isn't it?
Well, it's senior hurling now for the next 2 weeks, so it is. So you're, what I would say though is, has GRIPT responded to your requests or emails?
Yes, actually, in fairness, yes, they did. Apparently, I'm on the shortlist. So
okay, so
I don't know if I'm supposed to take comfort from that. I'm sure I am, some comfort at least. But that was over a week ago.
Yeah, well, he's had some pretty boring characters on there the first couple of weeks he's done it. So if he wants a bit of enlightenment, I think he should invite John to it. What was I going to say?
Yeah, maybe he should consider me, of course, yeah. But I must be saying things, Jerry, that some people don't like. I mean, they're obviously trying to shut me down for a reason, including shutting down my ex. That was very upsetting. But anyway, thankfully, I'm getting it back.
Well, just from the perspective that I'd look at something like this is yourself and John Waters and let's say Derek Bly, you have way bigger social credit, if you like, from interaction with people that want to hear what you have to say. Just taking three as an example. And so obviously there's an appetite in Ireland, a very big one, because some of your videos have got tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of views. So there's an appetite for what you're saying. So I would be hopeful that, John McGurk and GRIPT would be cognizant of that fact that, it's not going to hurt his business having you on, if nothing else. So we'll move on from there anyway. Una.
Indeed, we'll keep our fingers crossed that
Right,
John will do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
I suppose the last thing is, because your X account is, and your X account is your kind of that main platform. I want to give you the opportunity to tell people, spell out your campaign for the next 2 weeks in case you're,
something goes wrong again, or I can't.
Goes wrong again. And to be honest, it's going to take a while to build up a new Twitter account as well. So why don't you take
absolutely,
us through?
and indeed, and for people to find me, yeah, I know, but all we can do is keep going. And I mean, thank goodness for wonderful broadcasters like yourself, people with kind hearts and people with integrity who've reached out and realized that this is an unfair situation that has happened, and so I'm very grateful to you for that, Jerry. So just to let you know, next week, for example, we've thankfully a very busy week. On Monday night in the Carnegie Arts Centre in Kenmare at 7:30, I'm hosting a public meeting. I hope as many will attend as possible. That's in Kenmare, County Kerry. The following night from, again, 7:30 onwards in Macroom, in Cool Cower House. It's Cool Cower, COOLCOWER House in Macroom. That's Tuesday the 28th, again at 7:30. And I'm sharing a platform with another independent candidate, Mary Fitzgibbon. You've probably heard of her.
I'm interviewing her over the weekend, so yeah.
Oh, very good. So myself and Mary are sharing that platform on the Tuesday in Macroom, County Cork. On Wednesday, I will be in the Plaza Hotel in Killarney from 7 o'clock onwards in the Plaza Hotel in Killarney, County Kerry. On Thursday, I'm traveling to Newtown Mount Kennedy. On Friday at 6 o'clock, it's a much earlier time, in Dungarvan, County Waterford, Lawler's Hotel from 6 to 8 in Lawler's Hotel in Dungarvan, County Waterford. I will be there. So that's my schedule for the next week. And I don't know what's happening. We haven't decided yet for the week after, but that's next week anyway. And of course, I'm available if people want to contact me. I'm happy to do interviews during the day or go and do any town hall meetings or meet any groups anywhere. So just please contact me or my campaign manager, Liam Heffernan,
And
if you want to hear from me.
Do you have a number that you're comfortable? Do you have a campaign number that you're comfortable saying out publicly of how people would contact you, say via phone or WhatsApp or email?
No, it's what is it? I'd have to get up. Can I get up and get the email address? Will you excuse me for a second? Yeah.
Yeah, go get it. So just while Una's gone there, just to reiterate, anybody that's on X, you can see I have her new Twitter account, Una_McGurk. On X. I keep saying Twitter, it's X, sorry.
Yeah, thank you for your patience, everyone. Yes, I just wanted to make sure that I had it right in terms of the capitals. It's Una McGurk for EU@gmail.com. So it's capital U, capital M, and it's 4 as in the number 4. It's not the letter, it's the number 4. So it's Una McGurk for EU@gmail.com. That's probably the best way to contact me. To give out my number, it's just that I have so many people that
no, that's
are ringing
fine.
me.
I'm not sure.
Wouldn't work.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work. I'd spend the day on the phone and I wouldn't get any canvassing done. So I'm sure people and the listeners will understand that. So that should get everything. Una McGurk for EU@gmail.com.
Okay, so hopefully anyone that has I suppose anyone out there that has any contacts and likes what Una's had to say, not just here, but on other videos we've done together, reach out and help if you can. Una, is there anything else you'd like to say as a last word? And we'll let you back to the campaign trail.
Yeah, no, not at all. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for giving me especially the opportunity to explain to people why I haven't been on X and why I haven't been posting properly and putting out information and all the important posts that I want to do. So I'm very grateful for that, Jerry. Thank you so much. And also just to remind anybody listening who's in Ireland South constituency, given the fact that you may not see me, it's unlikely you'll see me on mainstream media, please give me your vote, your number 1 vote on June the 7th, and tell all your friends and family. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed.
No, that's great, Una. And just again, if if you're within a 30-mile radius or 40-mile radius of any of the places Una's just outlined there, try and get there and create a bit of a buzz for her campaign. And so that's it, Una. We'll leave it at that, and I'll end the stream. Thanks everyone for listening.
Yeah, thank you.